This was crazy. It was super cold. I can't feel my hands. Alright, we've been chilling in bed for the last hour. We've done 2 races already this weekend. If you haven't seen them, check out my previous 2 videos, because yesterday we've done a road race in strong wind and rain, and this morning we've done a team time trial. This is like the trilogy of the final club competition weekend. Anyway, what's up guys? What's up cycling fanatics? We're gonna get ready for the last race of the year. This is definitely gonna be my last race of the year. It's a 80-kilometer criterium. They call it a criterium, but it's actually a 3.5-kilometer loop. So I'm not sure if it's really a criterium. It's been raining since a couple hours ago and it's not gonna stop. So it's gonna be a shitty, wet race. In 5 minutes from now, we're gonna have a team meeting, talk about what's gonna happen. And in 1 hour from now, we're gonna get on the bike, get wet and race. Current feeling, tired. I'm looking forward to my holiday, which is next week in Mallorca. I miss the baby and the girl. I want to get it over with. Thomas crashed yesterday. That's the alarm. We need to wake up and go. Thomas crashed yesterday. He still helped us out with the time trial. Did a couple pulls. And he's gonna give it a go at the criterium. We did pretty good. We're making up our spot in the GC of the club competition. This weekend is about 40%. It's gonna count for 40% in the whole club competition. So if we do good in this criterium, we might make up a little bit for our shitty performance in previous races. Wat vind jij er nou van? Zoom even in op je hoofd. Thomas wants to say something.
Nee, ik wil niks zeggen.
The hotel is absolutely full with bikes. I think there's 3 cycling teams in here. So it's all bikes, bikes, bikes. Dus...
Gewoon eens even naar de vroege maar er is wel een daar zo goed gereden, jongens.
Thomas chocola?
Als de directeur ook wel is, wel.
Ik hoor niet wat er achter te doen.
Trainingschocola.
Ja,
Zieke eindelijk.
Well, last race of the year. 30 minutes to the start. Ready. Alright, the start of the race. As you can see, it's super wet. It's been raining pretty much all afternoon and it wasn't gonna stop during the race. So expect a crazy wet race this last race of the year. It's gonna be an 80-kilometer criterium over a 3.5-kilometer loop. So it's a very big loop, and there were a lot of fast, straight roads. So not too many super sharp corners in this track. However, it's super wet. So it was pretty sketchy. As you can see, we're going quite easy through this turn, and along the way you can check all the data like usual. At the top right you can follow me on the track where we are, and then at the bottom you'll see the power. At the left bottom, speed, cadence, my heartbeat, the distance and the time on the top left. So as you just saw, we're going through these massive puddles, absolutely crazy. The spray from the guy in front of you was non-stop. You just had a big spray in your face the whole time. Right here you can see the road where there's these tracks of the tires of the cars, and it was just filled with water. So it was like racing through a small swimming pool sometimes. Totally crazy. And here we are coming up to a couple sharp turns. You know, this first lap was a bit sketchy. Everybody was taking it a little bit easy to see how the braking power was and how these corners were and stuff. And everybody's sort of having his fingers crossed on these corners and if you would actually be able to brake. Because most of the guys were on carbon wheels, and as you guys probably know, carbon wheels don't brake too well in the rain. So right now we're coming up to a long straightaway, and after this long straight there was a very sharp turn, and then we would go up to the finishing street. So this was actually every time a battle to get there a little bit up in the front of the field, because you know, what you get with these tight turns is the accordion effect. So everybody starts braking, and when you're behind, you're almost standing still while the first guy is still going like 30 kilometers an hour through the corner. So you have to accelerate very hard after the turn. Well, anyway, everybody stayed up on his bike through this first time, through this corner, and here we are accelerating onto the finishing street. There was about 700 meters to the finish, and here they throw in a preem lap straight away. This was the first lap, and here we are actually approaching that tight turn again for the second lap. This was the preem lap. This guy attacks, and I could follow his wheel. I wanted to follow his wheel because it's nice to be through this corner by yourself instead of being in the pack. And then he accelerates again nicely, so I'm just following. This was not per se an attack on the preem, but more just an attack on the race. The first part of this race actually was really fast, and there were a lot of attacks. However, nobody really succeeded. Just like us, I did get this preem, but we were being pulled back by the peloton, so no success on this one. Again, super wet. You can still see all those puddles we're racing through, and also the crazy amount of spray from the guy in front of you. I was racing with my SIROKO Tech glasses that I always race with, and I wasn't sure how well they were gonna hold up in this rain, but they did pretty good. There was only like 2 occasions where I had to wipe out some water from my eye, but you had this constant spray of sand and rain in your face, which makes it hard to see, just like you see on the camera lens right now. But I did pretty good with my glasses, so I was happy. Right now you can see I'm braking full. My lever is all the way into my handlebar, and it was sort of hoping that you would brake enough every time. Carbon brakes don't brake really well, and it takes a while until they get the grip. So in the rain, you're squeezing the brakes, holding them, and then after a few seconds, that's when you get your braking power. And every time I was hoping it would be in front of the turn, so I could actually decelerate. Right here, coming up through these couple bends, and then back on this long straightaway where it was another battle for that sharp turn. Speed is going up pretty fast, 54 kilometers an hour, 55, and this was also a part where people would attack because there's room, and after the sharp corner it would be a nice location to actually pull off. And right now again, squeezing all the way, the lever is all the way in, and it takes a while till you get your braking power, and every time it was sort of guesswork for every corner. But there was not a lot of crashes. I was very surprised. I expected a lot of people to crash, but luckily they didn't. Another preem lap. They were throwing out a lot of preem laps, but I wasn't really focused on that. It was hectic enough. Normally I go for preem laps, but not on this race. I didn't really care. Right here on the outside, it looks like I want to outbrake the rest, but it was more a lack of braking power that I was shooting past these other riders here on the outside. Luckily, there was nobody on disc brakes in this race, because the difference in braking force and braking power would definitely be a problem. If there would be a guy on disc brakes in front and he would brake real hard, then everybody would just pile up over him. Right now, 27 minutes into the race, I got to the front. I figured I'd just try to accelerate hard before this sharp corner to go through it by myself. Always nice. I didn't have to worry about riding in the pack, and I could actually go quite a lot faster than all the other times, but that's when you go by yourself, and that's why when you're in a possible breakaway you could ride pretty hard compared to the peloton. Well, nothing really happened. I got pulled back really quick. I didn't want to ride a breakaway for a very long time either, because my legs would not be strong enough for that today. Legs didn't feel too bad after those 2 races. I expected very much worse, but it was still very hard conditions. The temperature was going down really fast. I looked at my specs after the race. It was like 7 degrees right now in full rain, so you're totally wet, and my hands were getting so cold that I wasn't able to shift because I couldn't feel my shifters. I couldn't grab my water bottle from my bottle cage. It was pretty crazy, and of course everybody had the same problems, but it made this race a pretty hard race, especially towards the end where it just got colder and colder. So my battery also died pretty quick with these cold temperatures, so I actually turned it off about now, and then I did record the last 2 laps. So that's what we're gonna look at right now. Let's take a look at those last 2 laps. Everything stayed together up until the last 2 laps. So here we are, 2 laps to go. I'm in the wheel of Thomas, my roomie. He crashed yesterday, but he did feel a little bit better after the time trial, and he was racing pretty strong in this race, and he said, well, just follow my wheel and I'll try to get us in position. He's doing a pretty good job. Right now we have 2 laps to go, so it's still a long way. These are 3.5 kilometer loops. And after this crazy weekend, I was sort of prioritizing to stay on the bike in this race. It was hectic enough. Right now you can see I lost my my lead out because Thomas was on the right. I didn't want to risk getting stuck there in a wheel of slower riders, so I went to the left, but I ended up getting back on Thomas's wheel pretty fast. I just kept an eye on him, and then as soon as I could, I got back on his wheel. We still have 5 kilometers to go, so it's plenty of time. Right here we're in position maybe 30, 40, but we still have about 4 or 5 kilometers to get up to the front. So right here I called Thomas, go up to the front, and he starts pulling, and we did overtake a lot of riders here. We have a nice space here on the left. You can see it's fast because it's stretched out, and we still have 1 lap to go right now. 1 lap to go, so now it starts to get hectic. Everybody is gonna squeeze out his last little bit of energy. Everybody wants to stay up in the front, and right here Thomas jumps in a gap that I couldn't follow. It was getting narrow here. It was narrow enough, and he just quickly goes to the front, so I wasn't able to follow him, and I end up a little bit too far in the back. So here I'm going to the left because most of the time there was a space on the left to get up to the front again, and right now there's a guy here on the left. He's about to attack, so right now I'm gonna follow his wheel. He's my ticket back to the front of the race in his draft. Another guy wants to follow, so I'm just gonna stay behind them. I was not gonna take a pull because I didn't want to be all the way up to the front. I just wanted to get a better position for a possible sprint. Well, I thought my legs were feeling pretty well, so I was hoping I still would be able to pull a nice sprint. So I needed to get up to the front and stay with like the first 10 riders. Right now we're coming up to this long straightaway just before that sharp corner, and the sprint is actually starting here. Right now with the first 10 riders, so that's pretty good sprinting wise. I didn't want to be all the way up to the front already because we still had a long straightaway right here, but I end up behind a slower wheel here, and I wasn't aggressive enough to go to the left and really pull forward. And then was a little voice in my head saying, dude, it's the last race of the year, it's been crazy, you already stayed up on the bike until now. So, you know, I wasn't really motivated to take a very, very big risk in this last corner, because that's what it was. Who's gonna take the biggest risk throwing yourself through this corner in the wet? So I get pushed back way too far here. I mean, no, I don't know, place 25 coming through this last corner, and everybody starts sprinting. I'm gonna sprint. I figured I'm gonna be overtaking at least 10 riders here. There was room here on the left, but you know, my sprint wasn't really there. My legs were not as good as I thought, so I just sort of sprinted with the rest. Right here I'm sitting on the saddle, and another little gap on the left that I could have taken, but I wasn't able to accelerate hard enough. Right now I'm standing up again, but my legs just die as soon as I stand up. So I think I ended up in 15th place. Now guys, if you like this video, don't forget to drop me a like, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe, because there's gonna be more of this stuff coming up later. This was crazy. It was super cold. Oh, sorry. At some point, I just couldn't feel my hands. I couldn't grab my water bottle. I couldn't shift. It's insane. Right now it's getting really cold, really fast. I'm covered with sand and mud, but we finished the race. We did pretty well actually. My legs feel pretty good, but at the sprint there was no sprint. Trying to undress, but even that is hard right now. Thomas is standing there naked in front of me. I won't put that in the video. Everything for the views, huh?
One eternity later.
We had a nice shower. Even the shower wasn't enough to warm us up, but right now, you know, after being so cold and then changing to a nice warm dry outfit, everything starts glowing, so that's pretty nice. Thomas and I did pretty good, I think. We ended up like top 15, or, well, we're gonna find out. Top 15, toch? Top 10? Well, let's check the results before we get too happy, huh? I can say one thing. This season went out with a bang, and with a crazy insane race today here in southern Denmark, aka the North Pole, aka Delfzijl. We did a good job as a team this weekend. Now about half an hour after the race, it's nice and dry, the sky is clearing up, looks like a nice day for a bike ride, but an hour ago, insane.
Ja.
Kijk! Breeze!
Er serieuze prijzen in ook.
Nee, prijzengeld.
Wat is dit?
Dat zijn mijn premies.
Eerste finish. Klassement tweede. Oh! Ha. Ja, ik heb die puntjes nog op mijn voorvork zitten.
Ja,
ik hoor dat...
Dat moet tegenwoordig.
mag niet meer eraf.
Oh nee? Oh, nou. Daarom heb je ze er nog op zitten.
Jongens, even een hele korte nabespreking met 4 man. De andere 2 zijn al weg. Ik ben super trots op hoe jullie de koers hebben vandaag. In deze omstandigheden. Derhalve hard om de koers zo te vertegenwoordigen. Het hele weekend vond ik heel erg geslaagd.
Back in the car, back home, another 2-hour drive to get there. Our team captain was happy today. I think we did pretty good. Me and Thomas ended up well in the front. I got 2 preems, that's nice. I thought my legs would be way worse than they were in the race. At the end, the sprint, there was no sprint, but you know, I'm pretty happy with today. It was an insane race. The conditions were so hard and it was so cold. I just couldn't feel my hands, I couldn't shift, I couldn't even grab my water bottle. It was insane. But what a crazy way to end the season. This was the last race of the season. I'm happy that I didn't crash. This week I'm just gonna chill out. I need to edit all the videos. That's a lot of work. And then we're gonna go on a holiday to Mallorca. I'm looking forward to that. We're gonna take little Sam on his first trip in the airplane. Yeah, another race season in the books. My second racing season on the road. I've only been racing for 2 years now. If you just checked into my channel, you might not know this, but I started racing last year in the amateur category. I went from getting dropped in my first race to winning back-to-back races at the end of the season, and then I switched over to the elite category. Not only switching from amateur to elite, but also switching from racing only criteriums to racing mostly 150, 200 kilometer races. So a massive change again this year, a new team. I can look back at a pretty awesome season. I've been racing big races, the biggest race was probably the Ronde van Midden-Nederland a couple weeks ago, where I was racing like a full pro peloton. I have a great video about it. Go check it out if you haven't seen it yet. My form was very good at the beginning of the season. I had a great winter. I trained very systematic, very proper training schedule. The last 3 months have been hard. Baby Sam was born on the 3rd of July, so obviously there goes my sleep, there goes my training, there goes my recovery. That's why my fitness has gone down in the last part of the season. I've done a couple races just because I wanted to finish the season. So next season I'm gonna keep on racing in Elite, and I'll try to have a good winter again. Of course I'm gonna make some videos of training in Mallorca again, and I'm gonna take you guys along the journey of this winter, my training, my preparation for next season, and how I combine all of this with having a family, raising a baby, and my life as an airline pilot. So work, family, racing, babies, training, everything. That's why you need to subscribe, and I'm gonna see you next time. See ya!